Good evening. I'd like to welcome you all and thank you for joining me tonight for our first Parents Forum. First of all, just a slight apology from me from a technical point of view. Because we've set this up as a live event on Microsoft Teams, because your email addresses are external, we're not able to have so much of a face-to-face conversation that really I would like to get out of these events. So for today, I'm going to do a little presentation and then I'm going to take your questions via the question and answer box that you should be able to see on your screens. So hopefully I can get all of your questions answered. However, moving forward, we're going to set this up either using Skype or Zoom so that I can see all of your faces and you can speak using your microphones, and so that I can see you on the camera, because I really want to kind of see the faces of the parents that we've got here tonight. So sorry about that, but hopefully we'll still be able to get something out of this evening. I'd like to thank you for joining me tonight. I have an open door policy with my staff and with students and with parents as well. For me, all feedback is good feedback. We are here to serve you and to serve your children. So it's really important to me that you have a platform to, ask any questions, give any ideas, tell me how you think we could be improving things. So I'll just start by going through giving a little bit of context. This is sort of from presentations that I've given to prospective Year 6 parents and to students and to staff. So I just think to give you a complete picture of what I've been talking about in the first half term. So we talk about Lambeth being an exceptional school for progress, but also education with character. So we don't want to turn into an exam factory. We do want to make sure that your children secure outstanding academic outcomes that set them up to be successful, but it's also really important that they leave us with the sort of skills and experiences that they need to be successful in our ever-changing and demanding world. So we are on a journey to outstanding. We want our next Ofsted inspection to move from good to outstanding, and we do feel like we know what we need to do to be able to achieve that. We're committed to improving the life chances of all of the students that we work with, and that's done through a commitment to excellence and a daily drive for continuous improvement. So one of our values is commitment to progress, and we talk to the students and to staff about simply being better today than we were yesterday, and that's quite a nice hook for students to kind of think about that value of commitment to progress in a really tangible way. We have unapologetically high expectations of our students. We've seen this half term with the new coronavirus measures that when we set the bar high, our amazing students meet that bar, and we're so proud of them. And we have a culture of no excuses and no barriers to achievement. We are prepared to go the extra mile to break down any barriers that we encounter so that all children can be successful no matter their prior attainment, their background or their needs. So our mission, as you'll probably know, is that students will be exceptional and have the ambition, drive and the opportunity to climb the mountain to the best universities and professions. So that's not saying that they have to all go to university, but it's saying that they have the qualifications that give them freedom of choice over their future. So if they want to do an apprenticeship, that's great. We support them in that. But it's just making sure that aspirations are really high. We do talk about climbing the mountain to university. Traditionally, we haven't sent enough students to university, but this is going up and up and up. And I'm really proud to say that we've currently got 8 Oxbridge applications that are going off, and at least 5 of those we're really confident with. So it'll be really interesting to see how that progresses, and I'll definitely be able to let you know in one of the forums how those students have got on. So our values that we talk a lot to students about, and hopefully if you speak to your children, they'll be able to tell you about our commitment to progress, as I've already discussed, excellence in thinking, which is really about engaging with the best that's been thought and said, and also having the ability to challenge the status quo and critique and think and learn at the highest level, sort of going beyond the curriculum. Honourable leadership, we talk a lot about the children acting as role models and acting with integrity, and the way I get the students students to understand this is by talking about doing the right thing even when nobody's watching, because it's a part of who you are. And I've given an assembly recently about behaviour outside of the academy, because we do have a few students that kind of let the school down, really, and you know, it takes years to build up a good reputation and only a few minutes for it to be damaged by sort of poor and antisocial behaviour in the community. So I've done a big assembly on that just last week to students in all year groups, because you know, the majority of our students, well, all of our students are wonderful, but the majority are impeccably behaved in lessons and in school and the same outside of school, and they really are acting as role models. So it's making sure that we celebrate them as well. So teaching and learning will always be at the heart of everything we do. We ensure that students have a consistent experience through the Lambeth lesson routines and the Lambeth lesson structure, so the way teachers plan their lessons, and that happens in every single classroom. That means that the students can be in a state of flow rather than a state of boredom or a state of anxiety, so they know exactly what to expect, and that's the situation where they can thrive. And we say to our staff that, you know, the students have got to feel like at any given moment there's nowhere they'd rather be than standing in front of them, delivering a subject that they're passionate about. And as you'll know, we have a really strict approach to behaviour, because we know that structure liberates, and this allows the students to learn in that state of flow. So we protect the learning time, every minute of every lesson for every child in our school. We obviously know they only have one shot at an education, and every time in front of that expert teacher is really precious. So we protect that at all costs. And in terms of our commitment to continuous improvement, you know, our teachers do have a desire to be the best teachers that they can be. We've just launched a new programme of professional development for teachers, where every 3 weeks there's a low stakes observation, and that teacher gets one action point for how they can improve their practice, and then they're revisited 3 weeks later. And teachers are really excited about this and really bought into the scheme. So we think this is how we're going to move to outstanding in terms of teaching and learning. So our teachers, there's a culture of welcoming others into the classroom and actively seeking feedback, watching others teach and sharing ideas with pride, and also collaborative planning. So within each department, teachers discuss what's the best way to teach this concept, not just what's the way I was taught at school, but then they all go out and teach using that method that they've all agreed is the best way to deliver a particular concept. Now, in terms of coronavirus, we've taken lots of steps to keep children safe. So we've got mandatory mask wearing in all communal areas. The year groups are geographically separate in the school, and they have separate breaks and lunches. Very carefully planned movement to avoid the mixing of bubbles, and even within bubbles, we encourage the mask wearing and the social distancing. I just did an assembly on Monday to the whole school about hand and respiratory hygiene, so washing hands regularly, sanitising at certain points of the day. We've got a staggered start and end to the day, which you'll know about. Students encouraged not to use public transport, but of course wearing a mask where they need to do so. Social distancing for drop off and pick up at the school. We've put a large amount of support in place for student wellbeing and mental health. We're currently training up teachers and support staff as safe space ambassadors, and that's a training course that teachers can go on to offer groups at lunchtime, for example, exam stress, for anxiety, for low mood, for lots of things, and it just opens up that safe space for students to talk. We thank you for your diligence around making sure you keep your students at home if they show symptoms or if they've tested positive, and obviously really enhance cleaning routines around the school. So that's a little bit about how we're keeping your children safe. In terms of feedback, I did talk about feedback being really important to me. So when I say my door's always open, on the website, when you click on key staff and you see my name, that's not an email to my PA, that's actually my direct email address, so you can contact me directly. And we've also just sent out a link to the parent survey, which is an email from an organisation called Edurio. So I would urge you, if possible, please, to fill that out so that I can hear your feedback. But I'm hoping that we'll be able to hear a bit of feedback and some questions now. So the way to access the question and answer box should be reasonably obvious on your screen. If it's not, If it's not, then just let me know, but I think it is, because I have just had one question through. So this is a question about, if we protect children's learning at all costs, what work do the children do in reflection? It's a really good question. So they do English, maths and science, and these work packs have been carefully planned by the subject leaders in English, maths and science to make sure they are accessible for the students. Now, what doesn't work is when you take a child out of a lesson and then you expect them to be doing the same work that they would have been doing in the lesson but on their own. Now, that's just too difficult because the teacher's not there to help them. So what this work is making sure it's reviewing previous content, so it's not a waste of time. And then when that student rejoins lessons, the teacher will make sure that they catch the child up on what was missed so that they can then go on and access future learning. So really good question there. I would also like to say I'd really be happy to give parents a tour of the school. We've recently had many parents, prospective year 6 parents, come round and look at the school. They were blown away by the standards in the school. I was really proud of all of your children who really showed the school off it to its best. They saw the disruption-free learning in action, really. So yeah, so some really nice feedback for the students there. So really good question here about online learning. So my child didn't engage with lessons during lockdown because there wasn't much teaching, just lots of homework put on Show My Homework. We've completely changed online learning now. So at the moment, while there's just the odd student that is isolating, we're doing voice recorded PowerPoints and also video lessons that are uploaded to Show My Homework. However, if we have a situation where a whole year group needs to self-isolate, then we are going to do the full timetable, the full normal timetable, but we're going to do it live on live lessons. So the child will follow exactly their normal timetable, but the teacher will be on Microsoft Teams rather than it just being work that's set on Show My Homework. So it'll still follow the same structure of memory platform, connect, then cycles of I, we, you, which is the Lambeth lesson structure. So it will be much more similar to the school experience, but it will just be on Microsoft Teams. If you were the person that asked the question about online learning, if you could let me know if that's answered your question and put your mind at rest, then that would be great if you can let me know. Christmas holidays, is it possible to go abroad? I think it's probably too soon to say. Obviously, we say that attendance is very important, and it's really important not to take holidays during term time. Of course, it's fine to go abroad and see family in the Christmas holiday, but obviously if there's any quarantine, depending on where you're going, then it's making sure that they're not going to miss time in school simply because it puts them at a disadvantage. And when they come to do their exams, that they're already, you know, way behind the start line. And when we do the things like the rank orders and the progress groups, and if they're in year 10 and 11, then when they come to get their GCSE grades and they're being marked against everyone across the country, you're putting them at a disadvantage. If a child has to self-isolate, will they receive the same work online as set in class? The answer to that is yes, because the online work that's been set on Show My Homework has been mapped against the curriculum. So using resources from Oak Academy and VoiceOver PowerPoints, that work is matched to the work that they're currently doing. One of the government guidelines is very clear around making sure that students don't lose out, but if they're having to learn online. So Mr. Tuig and Mr. Mathershaw are working really hard with subject leaders to make sure that same really high quality work and resources are available for students self-isolating. We're looking at we're just waiting on government guidance before they announced, sorry, I didn't read the question. The question is, will there be any clubs starting for students during the school day? before the government announced the second lockdown, we were just about to launch clubs. We're just waiting for government guidance on clubs and what we need to do about that, because we're desperate to get them started. Sports clubs, but also debating club, chess club, science club, etc. So as soon as we get the go ahead from the government, we will be starting the school clubs, and we will also be launching the house system in just under 2 weeks. So that's an exciting time for the school as well. Mr. Martin, I've just had a comment here saying, has the meeting started? There's nothing on my screen, just a play button that doesn't work. I wonder if you might be able to private reply to that user just to try and work out what's going on technology wise for them, please. A question here, what are your plans regarding parent-teacher consultations? So those will still be going ahead. It might just be that they have to be virtual. So what we did for year 7 already is we did a meet the tutor evening where the form tutor had a Microsoft, I think it was actually Skype maybe, and parents had a 5-minute appointment where they could let the person enter. They wait in the lobby, they have the consultation, and then they get the next person in. So we know how important it is for you to be able to communicate with teachers. So we will still be running parents' evenings. Year 11, great extra sessions and academic support. Thank you all. Are they also having fun in school to avoid burnout? Is such a good question. You know, our year 11s are the hardest working year 11s across all 80 United Learning Academies. We think that they, in the 3 breaks that they have during the day, we think that they have a really nice time because they're all together as a year group. Also, on a Friday night, we run Kickback Friday. Now, that is a session that students can attend. I had the pleasure of playing badminton against some of our year 11s last Friday. They can play table tennis, they can have their mobile phones out, they can play music, they can chat with their friends. So we are really trying to balance the high expectations that we have of them with some fun and with lots of rewards. But it's a really good point to make, and I will be trying to think of more ways to reward them with things like pizza parties and things like that. How am I able to access my child's homework online instead of the whole year group as a new year 7 parent? So on the website, if you click on parents show my homework year 7, as long as you know your child's classes, you will be able to access their homework. But if you've got any more specific questions about that, then you can either get in touch with the head of year, with Miss O'Regan, or with myself to follow up on that one. What is happening with the use of school lockers? We can't use these at the moment because of the geographical bubbles that we've got, students only allowed on one corridor. But as soon as the coronavirus restrictions are reduced, we will be able to get back to using the lockers. I'm really glad I answered your online learning question, so thank you for that. What types of masks are the kids allowed to wear? Only black and blue? No, I've asked just that they wear plain, sensible masks, really. I don't want any big garish masks with big logos, big patterns, big mouths painted on them. I just want them to be quite subtle, but I'm not trying to be difficult. You know, as long as they are reasonably plain and reasonably subtle, then that's absolutely fine. There's no regular COVID testing for teachers. The teachers don't come in if they've got symptoms and then they get a test. So unfortunately, the government do not give us regular testing. If a child is to I've answered that question. Are you going to close the school? No, definitely not. We know school is the best place for the students. So unless we're told to do so by the government, the school will be staying open for as long as possible. The house system, this is testing me here because it's new to me as well. We're about to launch 4 houses that work vertically across the school. So there's Jones, Archer, Szabo, and I've forgotten the third one. That's terrible. Jones and Thornton, and they're all based on local people in history that are famous for abolition of the slave trade, for being the first female person that has done certain things. Every child's going to be allocated into a house, and they're going to be able to earn points for their houses, like things like good attendance, merits, academic performance, community behaviours, charity work. And then as sports events, drama, all of the kind of enrichment, education with character experiences. Now, it's a shame that we're launching the house system at a time when we can't have vertical mixing of bubbles. So because in a house you've got students from year 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 and 13, and normally we do big house events and house assemblies to give students a chance to interact with others from different year groups, but we can't do that at the moment because of coronavirus. But we've decided to go ahead with the launch anyway, and then obviously we'll be able to maximise those opportunities when coronavirus subsides. Year 11 have already got predicted grades and they're going to be sent home to you next week. Mr. Ung's going to be in touch this week because next Thursday we're going to run another parents information evening where Mr. Ung's going to talk through what the predicted grades mean, what the colour groups mean, and what more year 11 parents can be doing to support their students. Why isn't it mandatory to wear masks during classes? The reason for this is it goes against government guidance. The government guidance says that the positive effects of wearing a mask in the classroom is greatly outweighed by the negative effects on communication, and it makes it very difficult for the teacher to teach when the students are in face masks and when the teacher is wearing the face masks. So the simple answer to that question is we're following government guidance. Mr. Martin, there's another user here saying they're not able to see or hear the meeting. Will minutes, notes or a recording be made available? I'm hoping you'll be able to private reply to them, just to either give my direct email address just to explain that yes, we will be able to get a recording to them. Has there been any positive cases in Lambeth Academy? We've had one positive case in year 10. So we wrote to all year 10 parents and spoke to all year 10 students, but it was really good because the student woke up on a Monday morning with symptoms. The parent kept the student at home. So because that student was contagious on a Saturday and a Sunday and they didn't leave the house during that time, that we spoke to the Department for Education and Public Health England, and they said we didn't need to take any further action because that child had not been in contact with any of our students or staff when they were in the contagious period. A comment here, thank you for keeping school open. My child is very happy to be in school again. Well, we are absolutely delighted to be in school with the children again. We didn't sign up to teaching to work from home, so we're so happy to see them all at school and to see their smiling faces, even though with masks now we can't see that so much, because we know that in the long term, you know, school is the best place for them. Thank you, Maria, for your comment about us doing a great job, and we will keep maintaining our high standards during this extraordinary time. We really appreciate that positive feedback. Thank you. Do the children still have access to the library? The answer at the moment is no, but we're looking at alternative reading programmes. At the moment, all the students are reading a book. So in year 7, it's Holes. In year 8, it's The Boy at the Back of the Class. In year 9, it's Noughts and Crosses. In year 10, it's Life of Pi. And year 12, it's Woman in Black. And the students are really enjoying reading those books with the tutor. Unfortunately, we can't open the library, but we are looking at alternatives at the moment. So sorry about that. The seating in the classrooms has no social distancing. Yes, that is simply true, that there isn't anything we can do about that because we don't have the capacity to split the classes in half because we don't have enough teachers. So again, we are following government guidance. I do appreciate there are things that are not ideal, and that is definitely one of them. We are keeping the windows open in the classrooms, and we do have a really high functioning ventilation system with the vents for air in and air out. So there's a really high turnover of air in the classrooms. We're not letting students share equipment, share drinks bottles, anything like that, and the teacher is maintaining a 2-metre distance from the students. So that's the government guidance that we're sticking to. I think that this is saying I did not get any correspondence about that. I assume that you're talking about the COVID case in year 10. So we emailed out a letter to all parents. So if you could just get in touch with the school to double check that we've got the correct details for you, that would be much appreciated. I'm really sorry that you had a difficult time joining the meeting. I believe that a recording is going to be available. Mr. Martin, if you could just confirm that via private reply. I know we weren't going to record this event. Ironically, we've been recording all events, but we weren't going to record this one because it was going to be me just answering all of your questions. So let me find out for you if that's available. If not, perhaps we could have a one-to-one meeting. If you just drop me an email, my email address is on the website under key staff, then I will meet with you and go through all of the questions that I've answered. If a teacher develops symptoms in a class, they leave the room immediately and go to our COVID secure room, and they will be sent home and they will get a test. So thank you for your question. Thanks for the effort that you're collectively making during challenging times. Kickback Friday is a big success for our child as well. I'm delighted to hear that. I've also just had word from Mr. Martin that a full recording of this session will be available. As I've said, I'm really disappointed because I'd love to see who you all are, especially because you're clearly our most engaged parents of some lucky children who get to have you as their parents. So next time we'll definitely arrange this so that I know you can see my face, but I want to be able to see your faces as well, and I want you to be able to just ask the questions to me face to face. Will the current year 12 who missed out on celebrating their end of year prom have something next year when there is an all clear? That is a brilliant idea that I hadn't thought of, so I'm going to write it down now so that I can go back to Miss Kaplan, Miss White and Mr. Hemming to make a plan for that. So thank you for that great suggestion. So bear with me, because I do think the prom is a lovely experience for them. I know the one the year before was really nice. So thank you. That's a really good idea. OK, I think we're coming to the end. Oh, one more. What will happen to the students who are in the class? Oh yeah, so SLT will take over in that situation. The teacher will email Lambeth on call. That goes to all of SLT, all of the heads of year and our on-call supervisor who's walking around the classrooms, and then somebody will take over teaching of that lesson so that member of staff can go home. I hope that answers your question. Thank you to the year 11 teachers for all of your hard work. I will pass that on in our Friday morning celebration briefing. For those of you who are not aware, we've currently got intervention for year 11 happening 8:15 till 9 o'clock and 3:30 to 4:30 every day. I've never seen anything quite like it, and the students have risen to the challenge beautifully. But I will pass on your thanks in a Friday morning briefing. That will mean a lot to teachers, and that's why they do it. Great to have this session. Many thanks. Really grateful for everything you and all the teachers are doing. Yep, sorry again about the library and all the school staff, of course. So last thing from me, assuming we don't get any more questions, is that the next one of these, which I will hold next half term, so probably early January, we'll make sure that it's a bit more interactive, so it doesn't just feel like me talking at you the whole time. It gives you a bit more chance to interact with me in a way that isn't just typing questions into a box. So I'm just going to give it another 30 seconds in case anyone has any other questions, but if not, I'd just like to thank you all for your time and wish you a very good evening. Remember, you can always reach me at school on the phone, via email. My door really is always open, so thank you.